Having these in my arsenal were the single biggest thing that changed my life. Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Kajanan and I make videos sharing my process of crafting a balanced, meaningful and fulfilling life for myself and sharing any insights that I've picked up along the way. In this particular video, I'll be sharing 8 tips that I believe all university students should implement in order to enhance their university experience and maximize what they get out of it. University provides the perfect combination of freedom, time, and structure that most students haven't really experienced before, since high school is a much more regimented learning environment. As a result, these years provide the best opportunity for you to set yourself up for future life success. Interested? Well, let's get into our first tip, which is to find what you like. So why is this important? Having a greater understanding of who you are and what you like will help you live a happier and more purposeful life. There's a reason why in Erikson's stages of psychosocial development, the teenage and early adulthood years are typically spent finding your identity. This is the perfect time to try new things, find what you're passionate about, and accumulate novel experiences so that you broaden your worldview and understand more about who you are. I spent the early parts of my own uni life in the same mindset as when I finished high school. And so as a result, I didn't really grow or learn much about myself as a person. It's only over the last few years where I've spent less time focusing on medical school, gaming, and sports, and instead focusing on reflection and diversifying my identity through trying new things. And through this process, I've discovered other passions outside of medicine, like photography, making YouTube videos, and computer programming, which are all things that I thoroughly enjoy despite being mediocre at all of them. Once you start on this journey, you may discover that you enjoy many things, which can be a bit of a curse as it's really hard to choose only a few to focus on in the finite time that you have on this planet. And a framework that really helped me is this somewhat depressing notion that we will never achieve everything that we want to. Accepting this is kind of freeing because we're no longer trying to fight to swim upstream, and instead we can just enjoy the views as we ride downstream. So tip number 2 is to create life systems. There's 3 main benefits that I see in having systems: maintaining positive habits, being more productive, and being more organized. Over the past few years, I've worked on creating many systems in my life, ranging from morning and night routines to an entire second brain in Notion, to trying to organize all my files in a structured way across all my devices and all my hard drives so that everything is easy to locate and tidy. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you probably know that I love regular reflection. It helps to ground me, increase my gratitude, and help me acknowledge the progress that I've made. This is something that I've only really recognized through experimenting with journaling over the past few years in the downtime that I've had during uni. And now I've successfully found a way to regularly reflect with daily journaling as well as weekly, monthly, and annual reviews. And if you're interested in finding out more about these, I'll leave links to videos that I made about them in the description below. I would highly suggest that you take some time to note down what habits are important to you or what areas of your life that could do with better organization, and then find ways to build systems around this. So tip number 3 is to use mental frameworks. And you're probably thinking, what exactly do I mean by this? The best way that I can explain it is by using an example from my own life. So I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, I used to be a much angrier person and kind of like a slave to my emotions. For example, I would be driving and someone would merge in front of me without using the indicator in a way such that if I hadn't adequately reacted, I might have hit them. And in the past, this would have made me swear uncontrollably, and it might have even put me in a bad mood for the rest of the day. But now, using this mental model that I should only focus on things that are within my control, I've been able to keep my emotions in check to a much greater extent and remain much calmer and happier. There are so many ideas like this out there that can just open your mind up to new ways of thinking and seeing the world. Ideas like the growth mindset, the compound effect, and finding your specific knowledge. Having these mental frameworks in my arsenal were probably the biggest thing that changed my life. If you're interested in this personal growth kind of stuff, then I'd encourage you to try and learn as much as you can about the different mental models that are out there. I'd start by looking at the Almanac of Naval Ravikant by Eric Jorgensen, which you can access for free on the internet. I'd also recommend the Curiosity Chronicle, which is a free email newsletter by Sahil Bloom. And I'd also recommend Mindset by Carol Dweck. You don't necessarily need to buy the book, but I would suggest at least watching her TED Talk. These resources all fundamentally changed how I viewed the world, and I think they're just such great resources and wealths of knowledge. Tip number 4 is that uni should be your lowest priority. What I mean is that once you're confident that you can pass, further studying provides diminishing returns. When applying for jobs, the thing that many employers across different industries look at first is not actually your grades. In fact, grades are probably the lowest contributing factor to you getting a job. Employers are much more interested in what you're like as a person and a team member, and how you get along with others, and what other things you've worked on outside of university. That's really what differentiates you from other candidates. Focusing on extracurricular activities that show you're a well-rounded individual will put you in much better stead. So go out and spend your time broadening your mind and enjoying your life in the real world, rather than burying yourself in textbooks. Now, before I move on to the next tip, if you're finding this content helpful, why don't you go down and like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. So tip number 5 is to minimize how much you trade your time for money. Something that many students often pick up in university is a part-time job. Whilst this can be a great way to work on general communication skills and teamwork skills and also earn a bit of money, I'd argue that we should only earn as much as we need and then focus the rest of our time on trying to build more passive forms of income. I'm a big believer in earning money that isn't directly tied to your time. The point of this example is to show you that by investing time into creating some kind of business, your growth and earning potential is exponential rather than the linear output that you get when you work a job that pays you an hourly rate. The key takeaway messages from this point are that you should 1, minimize how much you trade your time directly for money, and then 2, if you are going to do a part-time job, perhaps consider something like tutoring, which has a higher dollar rate per hour of work compared to something like working in a local cafe, and more flexible hours too, meaning that you don't have to work as many hours to earn the same amount of money, and then you might be able to invest some of that time into starting a side hustle. Tip number 6 is to find like-minded individuals. You've probably heard it 1,000 times, but I'll say it again. You are an amalgamation of the 5 people closest to you. Choose these people wisely because they can influence your path in life much more than you think. Meeting lots of new people and trying to make friends is difficult even at the best of times. And university makes it harder because you're trying to figure out so many other things simultaneously. However, you can also use this to your advantage. You can ask people for help, you can strike up random conversations with strangers, and you can go to social events that come up during orientation week. You'll be glad that you did. Tip number 7 is to only attend high-yield classes. But I make this recommendation with a big caveat, and that caveat is that in the first few weeks, I'd highly recommend you attend all of your classes for 2 main reasons. And a caveat within this caveat, though, is that if you're the sort of person who will struggle to motivate yourself to learn, then it's probably good to attend as many classes as you can anyways. Number 1, it'll help you identify those lectures or workshops that are useful and thus allow you to forego those that are optional and lower yield to engage in self-directed study in the future. Okay, so the second reason is that it'll help you meet new people and make friends. And it's really in those first few weeks that most people find their friendship groups, and so missing out on this can really set you back in terms of your social circles. This is particularly the case when you're in a degree that has lots of broad classes shared by lots of people from different disciplines. So for example, when I was studying biomedical science, my first year classes were really broad and shared by many other health and science related degrees, which meant that the people that I saw in each lecture were different. As a result, I didn't really make that many friends in my first year of uni. In contrast to this, in med school, because we all have classes together, it's so much easier to make friends. Finally, tip number 8 is to enjoy your time. One of the best aspects of being a young university student is that you generally don't have too many responsibilities. As a result, whilst it is a great time to set yourself up for future success, it's also important to enjoy the time and freedom and live a little. I believe that moderation is the key to everything in life, and balancing your university studies with productive self-growth and hedonic pleasure is the key to having a balanced and fulfilling university experience. So that's it. Those are the 8 tips that I have for you new university students. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and also hit that bell notification, because I make regular videos on crafting a balanced life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.